how it related to some of the existing context as well as the existing building that's on the site today. Again, the original goal was really about visibility for the tenants and their signage, which is really critical to the success of the retailers. Since then, we've heard feedback and tried to address it with, if you flip to your second page, you can see that we can close the tower so that it is now a solid structure with a roof. We'll address a couple of questions about the themselves. The main parapet of the building is relatively unchanged and still less tall than the existing building, with our focus again on trying to make sure that the corner tower element is a key feature. It's an iconic piece of the building that will allow excellent visibility for the tenants and their signage, particularly for the tenants that are not facing Middlesex Turnpike, which really need to be seen to know that they're even there. Again, this photo is really a key photo in terms of the visibility of this building. This shot is taken right in front of the Dunkin' Donuts, which is directly across the street from the road. And you can see in this photo, you can't even see the existing building there. You certainly wouldn't be able to see signage for any of the tenants that face Wheeler Road. So, again, for us, having the tower element here that'll give some presence as you go down Middlesex Turnpike in that direction, heading north, is really critical. Another important aspect in terms of the configuration of the building, we've rotated the building so that the setback off of Middlesex Turnpike, the building is nearly parallel to Middlesex Turnpike, which allows for some better layouts in terms of parking and so forth on the site, but it has a similar effect in that it challenges the views from Middlesex Turnpike. So again, no visibility coming from the heading north, and really tough to see the tenants on this side of the building. And then lastly, we tried to address several of the comments that we heard a couple of weeks ago, which is that the height of the tower is now about 8 feet shorter than it was. We went from 8 signs to 5 signs, I believe. And we've changed the look and feel of the tower. Not only this tower is now made to be similar architecturally, and you can't see it in this view, but the tower on the backside, which was circular, is now shown to be this same square look. So there's a little bit more consistency in terms of the architecture all the way around the building. Again, the facade height here is relatively unchanged from the last time we saw it. And if you refer back to the first, you'll see that this parapet height is still below the existing building's height. I think that encompasses most of the architectural changes that we've tried to respond to. We've had meetings with staff since the last meeting and tried to address all of their comments.
Actually, just one thing I just wanted to add, Mr. Chair. The sign has been shortened, as Mike mentioned. We show it as having 5 signs on there, which is essentially the 4 tenants who are on the back side of the building, the Wheeler Road ones, which there seemed to be some agreement last time that those folks certainly need some visibility. But we also included a roof sign for this tenant here, because he's kind of tucked behind the site from, we showed there from Dunkin', behind Dunkin' Donuts. That one is kind of tucked behind that, so we thought that he would need some added visibility as well. So that's why, just to explain why there's 5 signs there and not 8, we took the roof sign or the tower sign off of 3 of the tenants on the Middlesex facing front of the building, but we, in our current proposal, we have a sign for the 4th tenant in the front and the 4 in the back. So, so that's basically, in terms of modifications from the last time, and again, based on discussions with, both with this board last 2 weeks ago, plus the meeting that we had in the interim. We tried to make some modifications to address the concerns that were raised, and hopefully we've done that, but obviously we're willing to continue the discussion and answer any questions or concerns the board might have.
Okay, thank you. Before we get into comments from the rest of the board, I just have a letter from the planning director, Kristen Kasner, that, from today, that I'd like to read into the record. Tom, you have a copy of this. I tried to forward it to you. Joellen, do you have an extra copy? Oh, you didn't get it?
I have a copy of it too.
You didn't get it in the email? All right, I'll just read this into the record. Dear Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the Town of Burlington Planning Board, I am writing to express opposition to the current proposal at One Wheeler Road. Of particular concern is the tower element proposed for what looks like to be 10 or more signs at a height of 73 feet. While we recognize that the site has challenges because of elevation, the tower is significantly higher and out of balance with the rest of the structure. The Planning Board recommends the board consider the following. 1, the tower element should be similar in appurtenance and height to the other 2 towers proposed. The planning board recommends the following conditions relating to lighting on the building. A, all the new exterior building and parking lot lighting shall not shine upward or onto adjoining properties or public ways. B, exterior lighting shall be shut off during daylight hours. C, all new exterior lighting fixtures shall be fully shielded and dark skies compliant. D, all new lighting fixtures shall employ lighting pursuant to Energy Star standards. E, any exterior lighting not required for security purposes shall not be operated between midnight and 6 a.m. F, all exterior lighting shall be white and constant in color and consistency. No electric moving. G, no electric moving signage, digital, or illuminated wall art shall be permitted. 3, if the Board of Appeals grants the variance for impervious surface, the Planning Board recommends that they provide additional landscaping and stormwater infrastructure to improve water quality and drainage on-site and in the area. Please feel free to contact the Planning Department with any questions or comments. Sincerely, Kristen Kasner.
Just very quickly, if I could, in response to that. I haven't seen it. If you sent, I was at a meeting from 5 till 6:30.
Yeah,
so
it was later this afternoon, so.
I didn't see it. I would just make a couple notes. One, her letter refers to the current proposal, which was the one from last time, because clearly she hasn't seen this, so she's not objecting necessarily to what you see here tonight. She was objecting to the previous one. All of the lighting thing, frankly, we've got to go through site plan approval with the planning board, and one of the things that they look at is exterior lighting and where it shines and all those other things. Certainly a big issue with them, but that's typically something that they have regulation over, but I'll just throw that out there. And on the impervious surface, as we mentioned when we were at the meeting last week, and I should have mentioned it before, we are providing drainage treatment before water flows off into the wetlands as part of the plan. Jim can elaborate on that. So we did. Our plan will include what Kristen referred to in Part B of that letter. And again, that's typically part of the site plan approval process, and Board of Health weighs in on that obviously as well. But there is definitely the intent to put drainage in, runoff and things of that nature, which doesn't exist out there today. So even with a relatively modest increase in the impervious surface, I would submit there's a great benefit being derived because of the treatment of the runoff is being added. So to me, that's kind of a trade-off. That's a quick response to what you just read,
Sure.
Mr. Chair.
Just one other comment before we take comments from the board. As Tom mentioned, the building inspector and planning director and myself and the applicant met, and we discussed, the main point that we discussed was the original tower that was on the building here, and the way that they had it structured, it was specifically for signage. So when the building inspector reviewed that, he made the decision that those would just be roof signs, which wouldn't be allowed in this district. So the discussion then came up, potentially what could be allowed, and that's where the new concept came from. So what they've done is created a tower that has walls, actual walls. So these are wall signs above the roof line. Right now, too, just as a comment, is that we wouldn't be approving the signage. We'd be approving the tower with walls. Signage, any signage that would be on that would have to come back to us for a variance. So it's something to consider, but just so you know where we're at with that, if there were to be any signage up there, it would be allowed via variance for a wall sign above the roof line. So just to clarify that. All right, we'll take comments. Jim, do you have anything?
I don't think so, not at this point.
Brenda?
Nothing at this time.
Mark?
Yeah, I still do have some concerns about the tower and the height of the tower, and I'm trying to determine how it changed from the original presentation in terms of height.
I think Mike mentioned it's been lowered by 8 feet.
8 feet, he said.
8 feet. All right.
Previously, Mark, there'd been 8 signs on it.
Right.
They reduced by 3 signs, so there are 5 signs left, and it
Right.
resulted in, it was lowered by 8 feet.
Okay.
So we can show you.
So you can see this was the original scheme. Tower is significantly taller.
So what was the difference in, you said it was only 8 feet bigger, and the one to the left?
It's only 8 feet taller than that.
Doesn't look like 8 feet. But one of the comments that was made by the planning director is that it be similar to the changes that you apparently made to the other 2 towers that are on the building. So I don't see any comparison between those towers and the one that you have.
This is the tower that I think.
Yeah, no, I believe that's what she's referring to in that letter, but I'm trying to get a sense for, so that's the difference in the only comment that I would have is that that's a rather significant difference. That's not similar. That seems to be, even though you, go ahead.
Sorry. We heard that.
Excuse me, could you just use the microphone just so the people at home can hear you?
Sorry, apologize. We heard from the feedback at that meeting was that the circular towers here were not, it just doesn't fit with the square tower. And so we wanted to have the same design feature, so have them square so that they match together better than having circular towers here, circular towers in the back, and then a square tower up there. That's what we took. Not only that, the original circular tower was higher, and so when the main tower was reduced in height, this was also reduced in height too, to make to keep everything in scale.
So can you answer a question for me? Because it looks like the roof is like a shed-style roof on that tower on the right there
On this
that
one?
I'm facing? Is that,
No, it's a flat roof.
it's a flat roof?
With a cornice.
Okay.
It's just below the top of the parapet. So I think, although the towers are not the same in terms of their dimensions, obviously.
Right.
Stylistically, it's the same top of roof and a cornice that's just below that. So from an architectural style standpoint, they're rectilinear now, they're not circular, and they have the same sort of architectural features.
Right. No, I think it's a good plan and a good attempt to try to accommodate comments of, the planning board but I still have some trouble with that tower. It just seems to be too high for that area. And I'm trying to, now, Tom, you had mentioned the last presentation that the tower at Middlesex Marketplace,
Yeah, across the street.
which is really what y'all are attempting to accomplish here. Now, that just seems, for that area where you're going to be placing this building, seems a little bit too tall for me. I just aesthetically,
Just
that's all I'm saying.
one comment that I just want to, in Kristen's letter, as I said, she was referring to the initial presentation, which was last week.
Right,
As Dan and Mike just mentioned, they reduced the size of the secondary tower on our current proposal. So
Right.
we were looking at Kristen's comments when she said similar, we were looking at it in design. If you want to look at that in height, if you think that's what her point was, then at the very least, we should not be at the height of the secondary tower in this presentation. It should be the height of the secondary tower on the previous presentation. And I'm not sure what the delta is there, but
right.
I just, if that's what her target height was, the one that you
You've
see before.
lowered it, I agree.
Yeah, so I just throw that out there.
Even with the lowering, it's
No, but the secondary tower here is lower than it was
Agreed.
last time.
That one, I don't think there's any problem with. I think it's a good fit. I think it fits the style of the building. I know that you want to increase the visibility in terms of the signs that you want on the tower, but I still
Yeah, no, it's,
have some issues with it.
understood,
That's just
understood.
my feeling. Would you consider lowering that tower anymore?
I'm all ears, Mark.
I mean, we're here to try to do what we can to get this project through.
Right.
As you know, we start off, we have 20,000 square feet. We did not come in here with 50,000 square feet. We came only with 22. We're not here to we're not trying to, just put as much stuff here. We're just trying to make it more feasible for the tenants. And we heard from, Harvey's been gone for 2 years. It's just very tough. The retail environment is not like it was 10, 15 years ago. Retailers it's tough. So I feel like kind of got to try to, since retail is a big part of, it's
Right.
big, this town, bricks and mortars is, try to help them out to get some.
No, I agree with you.
I mean, vacancy is just, it doesn't do me any good, it doesn't do anybody any good, it just, especially on a site like this, we're just trying to do what we can to do it, and accommodating all the feedback, we heard it, and we just made the changes,
Yeah,
We're doing what you
I-
need us to do. At the end of the day, we're just hoping to have something that, survivability, because have you seen, the Golf Tech was vacant for a long time after Harvey came in there. It was literally vacant for years. And then once Golf Tech went there, they nearly went bankrupt, and then they had to be taken over, and they're kind of teetering right now. Harvey's gone. Before that, Tweeter, I mean, that's something that you don't see electronics retailers anymore. There's a reason why retailing has really been tougher and tougher, and
Yep.
across the street, Best Buy, who knows how long they're gonna be around, because it's, so I just
No.
ask consideration for,
Kristen's letter.
understanding where we're coming from, what our project's about. It's, like I said, it's not about trying to max out the square footage and it's, the only thing that really makes a difference is trying to have some visibility so that people know that they're there. And the 4 basement tenants it's really tough. But please, if you can, what you guys can do.
So, Mark?
I am, for now.
Yeah, I have a couple comments to make. I want to bounce around a little bit. As far as Kristen's letter goes, I was interpreting it as not only was she looking for both towers to be the same, with the square roof look that you've done, but I was taking it as they wanted the same height. Now, I realize that the letter came after the other one, but once you lower this one, I believe their intent would be to keep the 2 towers at the same height. That's just my thoughts on that, as far as that goes. You dropped this, so you dropped the tower 8 feet, but you still left 5 signs on the side. So you're actually now going to make your signs bigger than what you originally proposed. How come you just couldn't have kept the signs at the same height? That would have dropped the height of the tower, for one. And then 2, that front corner building, there's nothing you're going to do, even on that tower, for people to see it coming, heading north, okay, from Dunkin' Donuts. So to me, that's a duplicate sign, and I would not be for that one in the corner to have a sign also on the tower. Okay, so that's my opinion there. But I would like to see if you went back to the original size of what the signs were going to be, and with just 4 of them on there, where it would bring the tower to. I would be flexible towards something like that.
By size of sign, to mean the height of the individual
The
sign?
height of the individual signs, because you only took 4 away, but you only dropped the tower 8 feet.
I understand.
You know?
Just one thing on my mind, because Mike mentioned this, that technically there's no signs before the board, but they did say in that meeting the other day that Andy said that you could condition ultimate signage as part of this. So you could give us an envelope, for instance, as to, in the event that you did grant this with, say, 4 signs on it, how big the letters could be and things like that.
Stronger.
I just want to throw that out there, that even though we're not looking for sign approval here, the board does have the right to put conditions in envelopes, if you will, on whatever sign might eventually be brought forward.
Yeah, okay, I get that, I understand that, and thank you for that, but I agree with Mark, I think that makes my point even stronger. I don't know what the dimensions of each individual signage is here for now, because this doesn't even show it, but if you left it at the same size as the other one, I would love to see how that lands.
So I just want to make sure I understand, and I know Dan wants to comment, but, so the sign, the letters the same size as they were last week?
Right, the whole
But
square
only 4
footage.
of them, not 5 of them?
Only 4 of them, not 5 of them, but at the original size. And I'm not even saying, I'm just saying I would love to see where that would go, you know?
Yeah.
But then drop.
And then drop the tower even to that point, correct?
I just want to say that we didn't try to play games with like, okay, drop it 5 to 5 and then make it bigger just because we want to make it bigger. We heard from the comments last week that maybe take some cues from the existing building where parapet, where it's a little wider. That's why we made it fatter, because we heard that from the building department to do that. Absent that, if we didn't hear that, we would have, we're not going to try to like enlarge it and try to come here and, hey, we shrunk it and made it fatter and it's so much bigger to try to get it. That's not our intent. It was because we heard the comment. So it was all the comments that we got that we tried to, shape the things as best we could.
Okay,
But I hear your suggestion, though.
thank you.
And we can certainly take a look at it. I would say that one of the things that we looked at in terms of the 5 signs versus 4 was, as you're coming north on Middlesex Turnpike, as I said before, you can't see much until you get right up to that stoplight. But the hope was that that tenant there when you're at that stop point, which potentially is your decision point to whether you turn onto Wheeler Road and into the site or not, you could see that sign from that intersection.
But you'll also see that sign from that same spot.
I guess it depends on what you're gonna put on the tower, right? Are they saying that you're gonna put the Wheeler Road people on the tower? Is that the
Yeah.
idea?
That's the idea, yeah.
Yeah, all of the, these guys would not be on the tower, and what we're only having what we're talking about was to see if there was a, possibility of this guy on this one, so that he's facing Middlesex Turnpike southbound. That was the only thought that, but the, the basement guys they have no visibility.
People heading south are gonna see the sign, no problem, on the original, on the regular sign on the right. Go heading north, they're not gonna be able to see it till I get up on Dunkin' Donuts. But they'll be able to see it, the one on the tower, and they'll be able to see that, so there's no reason to have them both there. So you can take a sign out of there, drop it down to 4, and then bring the signage back down and lower that tower. That tower is way too big for me. And I'm not gonna be able to vote for it the way it stands.
Do,
And I have one more point to make too.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of times, people are referencing the Middlesex Marketplace Tower, the tower down the street, but this board does not set precedents. The applicant knows it, but they need it for argument purposes. But this board, shouldn't even be considering those other signs when it compared to this. It shouldn't even enter your mind.
All right, Adam, I know this is your first meeting, but if you have any questions or comments, feel free.
Take it from here, Adam.
Well, believe it or not, actually, I had a similar question about the size of the sign because of how many signs were taken off and how small it was reduced. But that point has been made, so I have no other comments.
Okay. I think you've definitely taken a step in the right direction, but I don't think we're there yet. A couple of things from me. I agree with John's comment about being able to reduce the size to bring that tower down. I think you might want to look at a couple of other options too. I had mentioned before, your roof line, your main roof line hasn't changed since the original proposal, correct? Okay, so even at that, you're still, from the first floor, 32 feet in the air, and the bylaw is 30 feet. If you brought that down 2.5 feet, or 2 feet, whatever it is that's over, and that would bring the tower down another 2 feet as well. So that, again, would make a big difference. I even potentially would say I'd rather see the large tower reduced even further, and again, this is my opinion, and potentially raise the shorter tower up one sign level so that you could put signage over there on both towers and balance it out. Because right now, you're sitting there like this, and you could bring it more in line, I believe. It's something to look at.
And put, just to make sure I got you right, and put signage on the smaller towers as well, is that what the suggestion
I
is?
would-
'Cause
I
because
mean-
we don't have that proposed now, but.
Yeah, I mean, your original proposal had a sign on the circular tower. This one isn't showing that, but I think there's a potential, I'd want to see it and see what the height ended up being. I think there's a potential for balance and to make it architecturally, pleasing, yeah. So I think that's an alternative to try to keep that tower from sticking 30 feet above the roof line. And, I mean, the only other comment I have right now, because I think we're gonna need to take another look at this, is just, I know you didn't have a lot of time in revising these based on the meeting that we had with staff, so just on the on any new drawings that you submit, we'll need, these drawings that you submitted to us today, they don't really have like the elevations on them, so we don't know what the height is, and we're gonna need that to reference in the decision if we make one. So, just that as a comment, and it would potentially be beneficial to highlight the areas that you would be thinking about signs if we were to try to make some kind of decision on that now and limit the sign areas on the building?
On the building and the tower?
Yeah, on anywhere that you're proposing. I mean, you could always come back and ask for something else, but,
Because I think right now, it would be just as shown there, there would be,
okay, well, dimensions would be helpful if we were going to that. I mean, we might not reference that. We might just say you have to come back for signage. But,
And lighting.
well, lighting for the signage, I think lighting for the site itself is out of our purview.
Right.
That would be the planning board, but, I mean, those are just things that might make it helpful for us to make, a decision on these, on these signage, on this, the height variance, really. It's not on the signage.
determine what the size of the letters were on last time's drawing and reduce that from 5 to 4 at that sign size, and however that reduces the tower, that's something, if I understood.
That's something that I would like to see, how that
Working
lands.
on it.
If I'm
Yeah,
my neighbors
it's something
to
I would
see.
like to see. I mean, I'd like to see trying to balance out the other tower too. I mean,
Yeah,
To bring that down, we can bring the other ones up a little bit too.
well, I mean, again, that's me. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, but, I mean, John, did you?
Can I comment on
Yeah,
that?
sure.
I'm not gonna like to see signs on the other tower, and I'm not gonna like to see that other tower increased. That's my opinion. I think that you have a lot of room here. Talk about that 2 feet on the roof line, and then you minimize those signs and bring that tower down. That's where my head's at.
I mean, I'm fine with seeing that,
I wouldn't mind seeing it either. I'm open to it, and I'll look at it, listen to it, but I just want you to know where I'm at.
Sure.
I'm going to shift gears. Still talking about the tower. So to the left of the tenant one sign, I assume that's just dead space where the window is on the second floor? Yeah. Was there any consideration to kind of mounting the tower on that corner? And that way you could reduce the height of the tower? If you brought it down a little and kind of made it,
You're saying that, trying to make this flat down here, so it looks,
yeah, so the corner of the
and
tower,
then,
make it line up with the corner of the building, and then you could lower the tower. Just
okay, we
get
can
you to the,
look at how we can.
Take a look at that, Jim. I
Yeah.
don't know if it'll fit, but I guess we can certainly look at it.
Okay.
All right, well, while we're on the, does anyone else have anything on the height? Or does anyone have anything on the impervious area? Wasn't really discussed. I'm gonna have a little bit, since we're gonna come back anyways, I'm gonna have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation with Kristen, just about what she's taught. It's hard for me to say what she's looking for as far as more landscaping or more, infrastructure on the drainage, so just,
I mean, we talked about that a little bit at the meeting, so my thought, and I'm just hearing the letter now, I'm wondering if she just wanted you guys to document what we had talked about, namely that we're putting drainage and treatment in there. We also talked about how down near the Vine Brook, we're actually gaining green space down there. I think she kind of took note of that as well, so I obviously talked to her and get clarification, but to me, it sounds like she just wants to document what we had talked about as those benefits as part of the.
okay.
In addition to cleaning the water, we'll also be installing subsurface infiltration systems. So now as all the water comes off the pavement and comes off the roof and just goes directly into Vine Brook and not into the ground, we'll be putting the water into the ground. So now there'll be not only be clean water, because we'll be treating it, but we'll be recharging more water in the ground than's going there today.
Is there any kind of recharge system on the site now?
There is. When we put the new parking lot in along the side of the building, that parking lot was under current regulations, and there was a small recharge system.
Okay.
But the existing building and the major part of the parking lot was put in before there was regulations on stormwater, so they don't have any infiltration systems.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like an odd thing for them to be asking you to regulate, because that's obviously not your
Yeah, that's why I want a little clarification. I don't know if she's asking us to try to push past what regulations would dictate, but I don't know how we could do that without being very specific, so.
Exactly, so-
We can
You
get
have to go in front
clarification.
of the Conservation Commission. Who
Right,
does
I understand that.
regulate that.
Sure. All right, this is,
Come back one more time and.
yeah, let me just open it up to the public, just while we're here. This is a public hearing. Is anyone here to speak in favor or against this proposal? All right, seeing none, we'll leave the public hearing open for now. Yeah, I think you've got the comments from the board and a couple of, things to look at as far as potential changes. And just on the next round of plans, just, a little bit, just the dimensions on the elevations that we got them on the original version, but we didn't get them on this. Just if we make any kind of decision, we're gonna need to reference it, so.
No problem. All right, so we'll get that put together, and your next meeting is?
June 4th. Yeah.
You need us to meet with,
We can determine if a meeting's necessary. I
If you
can
want
be in
to,
touch.
just
Yeah,
let me know.
we can be in touch, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Does anyone make a motion to continue?
Motion to continue?
Second?
Motion made and seconded to continue the hearing for Muller Road to our meeting of June 4th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Where's my agenda? The next item on our agenda is a new hearing for CVS at 34 Cambridge Street, as advertised.
You don't have to read it.
Not the
No.
signs. Please introduce yourself and give us an overview of your proposal, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Bill Proy. I'm here for the applicant this evening, and Stephanie Poyant's with me as well. I want to warn you, she has laryngitis, essentially, so I might be doing more talking than I was planning to, but we'll try to answer all the questions as they come up. As noted in the application and in the public notice, we're seeking relief for the sign package that's proposed. As depicted on the plans, essentially two signs on the north facade of the building, one on the west facade and one on the south. Two on the south, they're on a canopy, which would cover the drive-through lane. It's a drive-through, proposed drive-through facility. And I just, again, as noted in the building inspector's denial letter and the public notice for the hearing, we're here for two reasons, really. One is we are proposing two wall signs on the south facade. One is the CVS Pharmacy traditional brand, and the other one is a small drive-through pharmacy, kind of directional sign to let folks know that this store does have a drive-through option for those folks who can't get into the store, and to distinguish it from the existing CVS that's in the plaza as well, that does not have drive-through. So we wanted to make sure that that's plain to customers and the general public. And the other reason is because of existing conditions, existing decisions by the board have a condition that any signs, even by right signs, have to get approved by the board. And I just wanted to make a couple comments for the record on that. Just to get on the record, but we'll go through our package and answer any questions on that. A couple of the decisions talk about the building, no signs will be put on the building, and there are two buildings on the site, so I just wanted to make note of that those decisions don't apply to this building necessarily. There is another decision that was granted by the board regarding the directional sign for the site, and it does say any other signs at this address, essentially, except for storefront signs have to get the board's permission before they can be built. So I just wanted to point that out as well, and to maybe say that at least one of these signs is a storefront sign, either the south facade or the west facade. I think you'd have to consider one of those a storefront sign under that condition. So I would say one of those is permitted without relief for the record. But with that said, and we can talk about that if you want to, I'm not sure if we'll have to. We're proposing the typical CVS package of signs, very similar to the building that's on Cambridge Street, a little further north of the site, with the exception that the new brand has a little heart to the left, and I think you've seen it on the sign. And that's really it for the overview. I can let Stephanie go through quickly, and she'll have to use the microphone to get the amplification. You'll hear her poor voice is a little strained. And she can go through the design of the signs, the illumination, and things like the board will be very interested in, and has a lot of experience with as well. So Stephanie, go ahead.
So we're proposing standard facelit channel letters so that the style of the signs mimic the style of the signs that are on the existing building, on the existing store, I should say. So they are illuminated from within the channel themselves, exactly the way that they are illuminated on the existing storefront. We do have the lumen counts for you per square foot. The CVS pharmacy sign has 28.82 lumens per square foot. And the drive-through pharmacy sign has 51.62 lumens per square foot. The signage on the drive-through canopy itself is not, it doesn't, so the regular channel letter on the building, the CVS pharmacy, and the drive-through pharmacy is a channel letter. It's about 5 inches deep on the side view of it. On the canopy, those signs are not channel letters. It's actually an aluminum panel that only has it's stencil cut with a 1/2 inch push-through graphic on it. So the depth is not the same on the drive-through as it is on the building facade. That is just a slight projection of 1/2 inch. It lights up only where CVS pharmacy is, and the canopy itself is the regular standard drive-through canopy that you just drive your car underneath. The signage just is inserted into the canopy structure itself. Those are the basic descriptions of the signs in the package.
Okay, Adam, let's start with you if you have any questions or comments.
Not at this time.
Ben?
I'm all set.
Mark? Brenda?
You said these are the same, the CVS pharmacy, and I'm sorry to make you talk again. Are they the same height as the existing store, you said? Or are they?
I don't know if they're the same height. I don't know the answer off the top of my head to that. I can tell you they're the same color, they're the same build as far as the depth and the lighting system within them. I would have to confirm. I don't have the old store signage in front of me. I apologize for that.
No worries. Thank you.
Jim?
I think I'm good.
I just have just a couple questions on the details. Are the lumens noted on the plan? I know you just read them off, that they're not. Okay, that's fine.
We have another plan that we
Okay.
didn't have submitted, but is ready for tonight, and we could
Yeah,
submit
if
that.
you could, if you could submit that. That might answer my other question as well. So while that's being passed around, so my other question is, there's not a lot of detail on the package about, I mean, the larger signs are pretty clear, you know, how they're laid out, but the drive-through sign is a little hard to see, so this might clarify.
It does, that's only specific to the building sign that you have in
Okay.
front of you. So if you can imagine that the way they build their canopies at CVS, they actually build them prepared to accept a face on them. So like they're open on the sides where the signage goes. So it's a panel, it's an aluminum panel that is router cut out to say CVS. And then we push through acrylic so that it pops out 1/2 an inch. And so the panel is the finished piece of the canopy. It's just that that's how, like, they just set up their construction so that when we show up, the canopy is open and we close it up with the sign face. And so there's nothing added in projection for a sign cabinet. It's just a face that slides into the canopy.
Okay, and that's only visible as you would drive up to the drive-through. It's not visible if you were looking at, say, the elevation of the building, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
When you make that
To turn.
left-hand turn from the west
Yeah.
facade, behind the building essentially.
It's
you'd
just
see
the
it at
elevation
other-
here kind of shows that you could see the sign from that elevation. It's really small, so it's hard to see, so I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's at the, completely the other end of the building.
But it's as you approach it, not as you're looking at the building from, say, the side, like as an
Oh,
elevation.
no, you wouldn't see it unless you turn and head
Yeah, okay.
toward the north again,
Okay,
or the east again. It's almost it's at the east end of the building.
right, okay.
Yeah. And I think, just to sort of show that, if you look at the site plan,
No, I understand the location.
okay.
I'm more concerned about the side of the canopy that it's on.
yeah,
So it's on the approach of the drive-through.
It's-
on two sides.
Okay,
It's on two
that's where I was going with this.
So if you,
So there's actually two signs there.
yeah, one faces the south and one faces the west.
as you're approaching, if you look at the square footage chart on this plan here, on the left side there, the drive-through pharmacy with the clearance is what you see as you're approaching the drive-through. And on the west elevation, I'm sorry, on the south elevation, it says drive-through pharmacy.
So what you're asking, I think, Mr. Chairman, is facing that south property line, is there a sign on that part of the canopy?
Yes.
The answer is yes. There was one proposed for there.
But was not advertised, or am I,
No, it's on there.
It is, yeah.
It's on the elevation and on the sign chart.
our advertisement has 4 signs and you have 5 signs? Or am I wrong?
It says 4 signs on this, the advertisement. This is-
I'm not, advertisement, the plans are the same plans were submitted.
Right, yeah, I'm counting like the numbers.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we get it right, that's all.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
Send these are all back up, though, to the abutters.
The other 4.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to hold it up for that south canopy.
Yeah, we just can't
If
approve
that's-
something that wasn't advertised, that's all.
Yeah, I mean,
The denial letter only has 4 listed.
yeah, I'm not sure. We'll take a quick look at that, I think. Yeah, it says, it's ambiguous. This one is called 19-4, I think, is how the building inspector, which is the south elevation, he calls them 2 sides of the fascia, which is that canopy, I think. So maybe it just didn't get translated into 2 signs on the canopy.
All right,
You know what I mean?
is the overall width of the 2 sides correct?
Yes. Yeah, they're.
That's correct.
Exactly.
They're 5 feet each.
It's, the canopy is 1 foot by 6 foot on one side and 1 foot by 10 foot on the other side. The canopy is, the signage itself is 5.5 inches high and 2.5 inches high for the clearance.
Okay.
And then 5.25 inches high, the drive-through pharmacy, and then 2.5 inches high for the clearance.
I mean, it was on the plan,
Yeah, he's considering it one sign, it looks like,
Yeah.
yeah.
and the dimensions are accurate as advertised, so. Now, just, again, this is really small in the plan that I have, so I don't want to beat this up, but the first one says drive-through pharmacy, and then it seems like there's little letters underneath. Is there anything more to the sign than that?
It just says clearance with the clearance height itself, whatever the clearance is, like if it's
Okay.
8 feet. It says 8 feet, 0 inches.
That's gonna be a building requirement anyway, so that's, I don't have a problem with that. All right. Anyone else, any other questions? No. This is a public hearing. Is anyone in the public here to comment in favor or against this proposal? Seeing none, take a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Anyone else with any other questions or comments or motions?
Motion to approve is advertised and depicted on these plans. Is that what we're looking at? We'd have to
We should
reference
probably
both.
reference all the plans, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as advertised and as depicted on plans that were submitted dated 6/11/18, as well as revisions 5/17/18, even though it's 2019.
Yeah,
That could just be because they're using that drawing that I brought with me is their standard drawing set, not necessarily prepared for Burlington, Mass.
Fair.
We just used it to put the lumens on the proper sign.
Okay.
that's fine. And the lumens are on that plan,
The
right?
It's in
lumens are on
red.
this one,
That's
yep.
fine,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. You're all set. Thank you. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
We just have our minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of
Second.
May 7th, 2019.
Second?
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of May 7th, 2019. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0.